Moving on to our big discussion and topic of the day, we want to talk about how injuries have impacted NBA history from a team's perspective, a player's perspective, a league perspective. We're going to talk about it on every scale and just see where it takes us. But the question I want to start off asking with you, Gabe, what is the most notable event or change that comes to mind when you think of an NBA injury having possibly changed the course of a player or a franchise?
All right, what I will say is, so my thing that I'm probably gonna start off with is maybe not the most like significant in history, but in about the past decade or so, I think it did cause a lot of ramifications. And it's also not one injury, it's kind of a string. And I'm just gonna say the injuries in the first 2 years of the Cavs Warriors saga, because there was obviously a couple there. There's like Kevin Love, Kyrie, even Curry in the 2016 playoffs. I think that's one that doesn't get talked about enough. He got like injured earlier in that playoffs, and that probably caused him some trouble in that final series. I think Bogut got injured there too. So just on both sides, a lot of players going down. And I mean, what that 2016 finals was now, what, 6 years ago, close to 7 years ago. And so you say those injuries don't happen. It's probably the Cavs take 2015. The Warriors probably take 2016. They don't get KD. If they don't get KD, that probably changes the last 6-7 years of what happens. Because if that happens, does the media hate KD? And so then does Brooklyn happen? And if Brooklyn doesn't happen, what are the rest of the teams doing right now? Because I feel like for like the past year and a half, obviously they just broke up now, but then that was the measuring stick. So it's like everything that's happened since 2016 is really based off those couple, even the minor injuries in 2016, because I really do think the Warriors would have won that series.
It's funny because if you think about the start of the Warriors dynasty, every team they played in that first year, like, dealt with injuries. I'm pretty sure, like, at least second round on, I know the Grizzlies, like, they were dealing with a Mike Conley injury. And then I think Tony Allen got hurt too. And then the conference finals, they played against the Rockets, James Harden. I think Dwight Howard was like dealing with injuries. Like, they were dealing with a lot of injuries. And obviously you get to the finals, then you got, Kevin Love being out, Kyrie goes down in game one. And it was basically like their championship to lose at that point. So, like, I feel like the whole Warriors dynasty era is just filled with a bunch of injuries. Like, you can move, like you said, Gabe, 2016, they got hit with the injury bug, and it affected them winning the championship. And then obviously they get KD. And to me, like, the most notable one was like the Chris Paul injury. Because I'm in the camp, I really believe if Chris Paul doesn't go down, the Rockets get to the finals and they potentially win the championship. You still got to go through LeBron, which is not no easy task, but they potentially win the championship. And that was, beating the Warriors team that everybody deemed to be unbeatable with KD. And they were a Chris Paul injury away from making that happen. So the Warriors have been a part of a lot of like the what if injury situations resulting in like changing the course of NBA history.
A couple of them are Chris Paul. Think you said like 2015, like second round on. They ended up facing the Rockets. If CP3 and Blake Griffin don't get injured within 10 minutes of each other, the Clippers might have made a run. And I mean, that was the Clippers about 3 or 4 years in a row.
Yeah. I think that was a different year. But Chris Paul he had the hamstring at the end of the first round series. So he missed like the first 2 or 3 games of the next series. But they still had a chance to win. They were up 3-1. They still had a chance to win that series. And they didn't. So. But Chris Paul, I think 16 was the year where Blake and Chris Paul both like got hurt like in the same game. Like, I think Chris Paul broke his hand and Blake, I don't remember what happened to Blake, but he got hurt.
Oh, I think they were playing Portland. I think, I got it mixed up because imagine they beat Portland because they don't get injured. And then that's the year that Steph got injured in the playoffs.
And
so a healthy Clippers team goes in.
Yeah, they would have played in the next round. So
yeah, because Portland played Golden State. So it's like I was a year off. But yeah, if Chris Paul and Blake don't get injured within 10 minutes, things could look real different for Golden State.
You need a lot of injury luck to fall together to win a title. I think that's what we're figuring out pretty quick.
I mean, even last year, like Would Giannis be on the Bucks? I mean, he's very loyal, but there was a lot of rumors that came out, and I think they all got shut down at once when he won that ring.
Yeah, both teams that made the finals. Both teams that made the finals last year, they had their fair share of injury luck. But we also got to give credit to the teams that are able to stay healthy. I think that's an underrated aspect of things because everybody can get hurt, but being able to avoid those injuries, take care of your body, is something that should get applauded just a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel that way.
It's a skill in of itself. That's a time and effort thing in of itself. It's a medical staff. That's not just sheer luck. I mean, sure, some of it is, but you got to put in the work to stay available.
Yeah, but speaking of, since Gabe turned the hat around, we got to talk about the 2019.
You know how I feel.
We got to talk about the 2019 finals, bro. We have to. I think 2019 was pretty telling, man. I think that was a championship that was won off of being able to stay healthy while the other team broke down.
Yeah, it definitely played its part. Like you can say that every title is helped by injuries, but to have two of a 3-star team go down with injuries, I'm a Raptors fan, but like I don't know, man. If that team's fully healthy, ready to go, KD isn't dealing with injuries pre the finals, and he's ready. Clay doesn't go down with an injury. Like, you can make the argument we would have had a chance, but if you got to give me a pick on a 7-game series, I was taking Golden State 10 times out of 10. I would love to be wrong on that, but Golden State were just better, and that's just the ultimate reality of it. But, I mean, yeah, injuries just played such a big part in that. It's too bad, really, because, again, another story of injuries, but things might have been different in Golden State, and they would have been different because they wouldn't have then went and got James Wiseman and had so many top-end picks, but it changed so much.
Yeah, I think the thing with like Golden State too that was so tough, like for their injuries that year, is the exhaustion of basically playing. They basically played like 7 seasons and 5 seasons because they were playing like an extra 2.5 months every year. And so when you're playing that long and have that much extra wear and tear on your body, especially when those are the most intense games, I feel like it's just like bound to happen. Like we would love to live in the world of 2K simulation, no injuries, but that's why you gotta give props and really give a lot of credit to those teams who are in there year in and year out. LeBron making 8 straight finals and not getting injured until he went to LA. Like him going back to back to back playing basically like 11 seasons and 8 seasons. My math's probably off, but a lot of extra intense games and being able to play the very last year that he played 82 games
with a bad team
after making 7 straight finals. Like that's crazy. That is not normal.
Yeah, that level of being able to stay available and stay healthy really deserves way more credit and respect than it gets. Like, sure, again, part of it's luck, but like you need to be absolutely taking the best care of your body on the court, off the court, workout, stretching, nutrition, you name it. Like there is so much that goes into that to be that available when you're playing 100+ games a season for that many years in a row. Like that's an art and a work of nature in of itself for how much dedication has to go into that.
Yeah, the fact LeBron was doing that for like a decade is just like unprecedented, is something that we'll probably never see again.
I think Ironmen are super, super valuable and very like underrated because even just looking at the Western Conference in the past decade, you know how much success the Rockets had because James Harden was there every game. He was never out. He was never injured. There was so many other teams around them. We talked about Lob City. Golden State had their fair share of issues. OKC, like they had times where Westbrook was out, times where KD was out. Houston was in it every year because James Harden always played. And then the first time James Harden got injured, Brooklyn probably would have won a championship. So it's like, that's just the value of a guy that doesn't miss games. I know we're talking about how the injuries changed history, but think about how staying healthy changes history on the other hand. Like when you're looking at what did happen, the fact that these guys can come in every other day for like 10 years and do this is they're pro athletes for a reason. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I don't got that type of availability, that's for sure. They're doing something better than me. I'll tell you that much.
You guys think the Bulls would have won the championship by now if Derrick Rose never dealt with his injury bug?
No,
Just straight
no,
up, no.
sir.
Yeah, I'd probably have to say no
The
as
only
well.
way,
That's so hard
the
to
only
that's
thing
so
that
hard to
changes
predict.
that, if they would have been able to like get Carmelo, I think that would have been a little bit more of a discussion, especially if they stayed together through like LeBron leaving Miami, and then say like a healthy Derrick Rose and Carmelo Anthony are together with a solid core in like 2014-15, when then there's like no Kevin Love. Or wait, which one got injured first, Kyrie or Kevin Love? I always get it confused.
Kevin Love.
Kevin Love, okay. Still, I mean, LeBron and Kyrie might have taken them out anyways. But that's why I just say probably no. But I think they would have had a chance if they signed him. Because they still would have got Jimmy Butler. That was like pick 30.
I think they had Jimmy Butler before Derrick Rose got hurt, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know if he would have developed the same, but they would have had some talent. I think they would have been like a signing away. But just saying, would Derrick Rose, Luol Deng, and Joakim Noah win you a ring if he doesn't get injured? Probably not.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so either. Like, Joakim Noah was good at the time, but he only had a few more years left of good basketball. Carlos Boozer wasn't that great for that much longer. Luol Deng wasn't that great for that much longer. Like, that team's window, I think people now think was a lot bigger than it actually was in reality. And sure, maybe those players would have been more effective in their roles in Chicago longer, but when they left, none of them really played well. So I think it would have been a lot shorter window than people give it credit for. And I completely agree with your point, Gabe. I think they would have had to make an addition to that team for them to push for a title.
There's just so many like big injuries that happen to like star players that could change the course of NBA history. Maybe not like championship wise, but just even how the league will look today. Like this popped into my head because like that Portland Trailblazers team that had Brandon Roy, LaMarcus Aldridge, and Greg Oden, they were a really good team when they were all on the court together. So say if like they didn't deal with injuries as much, Dame would probably be in a totally different situation today. You know, he probably wouldn't be in Portland. So it's just crazy how much like things could change just because of injuries.
Yeah.
But yeah, on that same token, it's like that's why you really just got to look at what does happen at the end of the day, because while there is a lot of drawbacks and a lot of what didn't happen, you know how many players have like gotten the chance to shine and really made a name for themselves and then become stars in their own right because there was an opportunity because somebody else was out. Not that you want that to be the reason why they show out and make a name for themselves, but if you try to look at the bright side and be optimistic on like, okay, we got a tough break, but look at what we got out of it. And I think you've seen many times through history that a star is born because another one goes away.
100%. That's just how the league works. I mean, not that it's the most underdog to star story, but look at Paul George. Once Danny Granger dealt with his injuries in Indiana, and then he just kind of took over the team, and then it became Paul George's team overnight. Like, again, like you say, you don't want injuries to happen, but a lot of guys take on their opportunities and actually grow in the league because of injuries. It's just the way it is, especially in roles that are very saturated in the league. When you think of the point guard spot in today's NBA, it's tough to get minutes as a rookie guard if you're not one of the top guys in a draft class because there's just so many guards. You're almost hoping that you're on a weak team or that someone gets injured if you're a guy that's trying to break into the league because it's so tough to get those NBA minutes and to make that break in. You better darn well hope when you get that opportunity you play well because those opportunities don't come up very much, but those injuries do allow a lot of those players to get that opportunity.
I mean,
is Anthony Simons doing this?
Yep. I was just about to say that. Look at Anthony Simons.
Yeah, definitely.
Even guys like Cole Anthony this season, like minutes were opened up at that point guard spot because Markelle Fultz, hurt his knee last year. So he's taking advantage of his opportunity now. It's like, what does Markelle's future look like? So Yeah, sometimes injuries, it sucks that sometimes that's how guys get their career jump started, but got to be ready to take advantage of that opportunity when it comes.
Definitely. Markel's
Even
supposed
I
to be
want to
back on
say,
Monday, though, so look forward to seeing him back.
Man, that's my
wasn't
guy.
like Draymond Green's rise almost caused by injury?
David Lee.
David Lee, yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was pretty sure.
David Lee was tough. David Lee could hoop, bro.
He's good.
But
David
if
Lee was a good
Draymond Green
basketball
didn't get
player.
that spot, I don't know if the Warriors' offense is what it is, and their defense. He's their
defense,
defensive
nah.
anchor, and their offense is obviously Steph is their best offensive player, but Draymond, I feel like Draymond's the floor general of that offense, and is a great one.
He's probably the most important offensive player. He's probably the most important player overall for that team, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. Completely different team without him on the floor. There's no replacement for Draymond. Like you just can't fill him in. Like not that Curry is overly replaceable either, but someone else can hit shots and score, not to the level that Curry can do it, obviously, but someone else can do it. No one can really do what Draymond does because so much of it is feel for the game, knowledge of the system, knowledge of the game, his basketball intelligence. Like that's just not something you can just say, okay, next man up. Like that just doesn't exist.
Ben Simmons.
But there's not exactly a Ben Simmons sitting on everyone's bench, so.
Nah, I feel like that's not nobody, but I'll respect the Draymond. What he does is very special.
Hey, here's another, because I know we remember when Steph Curry had bad ankles for like the early part of his career. Do y'all remember when the trade was on the table? Instead of Monte going to the Bucks, it was supposed to be Steph Curry, but the Bucks didn't want to take a chance on Steph because he had the injury problems.
Bucks folded. Bucks folded, bro. Especially because Bucks got Giannis kind of late, bro. Imagine.
I don't even want to imagine. That would be absolutely insane.
That's the greatest pick and roll of all time. I'm sorry.
Maybe the best duo.
Yeah, that'd be insane. That'd be insane.
Kawhi, I still think Steph is a part of the best duo now. Steph and KD to me are the best two players to ever play together.
Give me Shaq and Kobe. Give me Shaq and Kobe.
Yeah, I don't know. That's tough.
It's an argument. I think they're both better. MJ and Pippen are at best three. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, probably.
I'm sorry, bro. Shaq and Kobe weren't they in like Game 7 with like Portland? And they probably should have lost to Sacramento too, bro. But when it was Steph and KD together, GG.
They won 3 straight championships. Steph and KD ain't do that.
Steph and KD only played together for 3 years. Shaq and Kobe played for 8.
And they had to say they made 3 straight finals? They ain't get it done.
Hey.
Kawhi is a pretty big one too. That's really changed things from San Antonio's standpoint, obviously from Toronto's standpoint. That one, I mean, I don't know if you guys have watched Rusty Bucket's video on Popovich, but there's some pretty good insight on what went on in San Antonio then, from how Kawhi wanted a second opinion. Popovich didn't like the second opinion. Popovich didn't want to trade him to a Western Conference team or into LA. And he goes to LA anyways. And in turn, San Antonio ended up going from a 67-win team with Aldridge and Kawhi at the forefront to now being where they are today. It completely shifts things.
Hey, if you're talking about San Antonio, they got Tim Duncan because of a David Robinson injury.
100%.
San Antonio still might be like just some random franchise that we're like, why are they even there if David Robinson doesn't get injured? Obviously, they would have had Robinson still and his greatness and George Gervin and a couple other greats on there, but San Antonio ain't San Antonio. They're not the blue blood that we know them to be if David Robinson don't get injured.
Yeah. They're just another small market team.
Man, that a young star player is ready to leave in his 3rd year. Like Zion.
Hey, small market teams, bro, they need some help. Milwaukee's been holding it down.
Milwaukee, Phoenix. Hey, yeah, Phoenix. Like Devin Booker, he could have won it out, but he stuck around, man. Zion needs to learn his lesson. I don't know how we got back to Zion. That's my bad, but yeah.
Hey, John Morant was drafted right after into a small market, bro. Look at what the Grizzlies are doing right now.
And Memphis is actually the smallest market in basketball. So, yeah.
They know how to build a team over there. I'll give them that. They know how to build a team. They have, other than, I can't even say it because Toronto haven't been as good for so long. In like the last 15 years, other than San Antonio before them, they were probably the most consistent small market team at being like a competitive, consistent playoff team. They know how to put out a good basketball team.